Selling Online Today, featuring Brendan from OKKimonos.com.
The job of an entrepreneur is to solve problems. If you focus on solving people's problems, you'll be wildly successful.
Making a great living by selling online is possible if you know who to turn to for help. Welcome to Selling Online Today, the show that features the winners of the online sales world sharing their stories of domination of eBay, Amazon, or their own sites. Here's your host, Patrick Conlin.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Selling Online Today, the show that brings you all you need to know to successfully sell online in today's changing environment. We are just thrilled today to have with us Brendan, who owns OK Kimonos, and that's a Brazilian Jujitsu outfit specialist based in America. Hi, Brendan.
Hey, Patrick. How are you today?
Yeah, really good. We have recently been interviewing a lot of niche businesses, everything from chili sauces to a guy who sells just laces online. And this is now even more exciting because we're talking about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'll just hand it right over to you. Can you let us know what exactly it is you do and how you started selling Jiu-Jitsu uniforms online?
Sure. So as far as what I do, the company OK Kimonos is a youth focus. So I niche down even further. It's a youth focused Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu company. We do make adult things, adult uniforms and other apparel, from shorts to like rash guards, which are kind of like, if you're familiar with surfing or if you know like what Under Armour feels like, that's kind of what a rash guard is. Literally everything you need to compete and train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu we make. But we focus on our kids line, and then the adult line is done as an afterthought, which, as far as I know, we're the only company in the world who does that. What's hilarious is that despite being focused on kids, we tend to sell just as much adult stuff as kids stuff, because I think there's a big kid in all of us, including me, which is why I wanted the company to be that way.
And were you into jiu-jitsu yourself? Were your kids involved in it? How did you decide this is what I'm going to sell online?
My little guy is 1.5 years. He'll be 2 in May. So I guess he's closer to 2 than that. But so he's too young, but he will do jiu-jitsu. I've been training for about 8 years. It's a big part of my life. I think the health benefits and the mental benefits of training a grappling martial art, where it's kind of like you can go full bore, with kickboxing or something like that. Like you can't train full out with somebody because you're going to get knocked out. Like people are going to get hurt. But with grappling, you really can train really hard. And I love that about it. So I've been doing that for about 8 years. And I was really unhappy in my job. I was a teacher then. I'm an assistant principal now. I was really unhappy. So I started a website around the local jiu-jitsu community called BJJ in Chicago. Then I moved on and somebody sent me a pair of shorts. And they're like, hey, if you write about these shorts on your website, we'll send them to you for free. And I was like, all right, so that's a thing. And eventually I moved on and I started a review website where companies would send me their jiu-jitsu uniforms and I would review them. It's very different from other martial arts where you tend to wear, in karate. I grew up doing karate and everybody in the academy wears the exact same thing and you buy it from the instructor and that's just what they do in karate.
Yes.
Well, in jiu-jitsu, you can wear anything. It's kind of like playing basketball. You can wear any shoes you want.
Okay.
And what you wear says a lot about you. And they're highly stylized, the colors, the flair, like everything about it. It's very cool. And eventually I was like, all right, look, I see this gap in the industry. I know that I'm passionate about it. I love streetwear. I love design. I'm going to go for this. And I started my own company and there were some setbacks right away, but pushing through all of that has been what's made OK Kimonos successful here in the last few years.
So, Brendan, based on that, are there other suppliers that you buy from or do you literally manufacture everything yourself?
Oh, no. There's a couple people who are trying to do manufacturing here in the U.S., but it's total crap. Mm-hmm. It's not total. That's not fair to me to say because these are my friends, right? I know a lot of these guys.
Yes.
It's not crap, but the quality of what you can get made in Pakistan or China, which is where the majority of martial arts uniforms around the world, whether it's jiu-jitsu or judo or whatever, that's where it's done. A long time ago, everybody in the United States that was doing textile manufacturing either moved all their stuff overseas or sold the company because they just couldn't compete. And now we don't have that infrastructure anymore, so you have to get it made overseas.
Taking a look on your website, which is really interesting. It's an area that I wouldn't be familiar with. Yes, when I was a kid, I did judo. I usually did it during the summer. It was usually connected to our school, so it was part of our summer school program. And they never really continued it afterwards. Now, in Ireland, we wouldn't necessarily be famous for our martial arts champions, not that I know of anyway. So it is all very interesting. Would there be brand names that within the world of jiu-jitsu people would recognize?
If they knew jiu-jitsu, there's a good chance they know my company. It's a good chance. See, Ireland's kind of not behind, but things are getting there at a different speed than other places. Like, for instance, I know that MMA, mixed martial arts, and the UFC are becoming really popular there.
Yes.
But it's still behind. Like, the United States was behind. Like, Brazil and Japan were ahead of the U.S., and the U.S. picked it up. And then you started to see a big upswing in Canada, and then in England, and now in Ireland. There's a guy named Conor McGregor. He's amazing. He's a really fun fighter to watch, but he also is very, like, mouthy. He's very like Muhammad Ali. He's good at promoting fights and being entertaining, and the things he says he's very sharp, and I love that. Like, he's very quick-witted and hilarious. But he's from Ireland, and he's like one of the first people to really come out of there that's done something significant in the sport of mixed martial arts. So I think things are getting there. I think jiu-jitsu is getting there. I've sold a couple of gis in Ireland, so it's getting there. But just it takes time to spread to other areas.
It certainly does, and certainly when you delve into a whole niche area like the area that you're involved in, do you find that community building, being part of what we would hear in the industry of as these closed community groups within Facebook, does all of that help your brand as such, or is it a very mass marketing approach?
So I built my brand entirely through sweat, what I call sweat equity, just hustling and engaging. I wrote blog posts, I made podcasts, I made a bunch of media around my company and just kept putting it out there. I engaged in every forum. I engaged on every Facebook group and LinkedIn groups. Anywhere I could find people talking about jiu-jitsu, I was engaging with them and just trying to be helpful. I bootstrapped my business. I didn't have any money to start with. I built it all from absolute zero. You know, I'm a father and a husband, and
yes,
I'm not in a very well-paying profession, so I didn't have like a little nest egg that I could invest in my business. I had to build it literally from scratch using free tools online and anything I could find that was free resources. Like, I couldn't pay for education, whether that was buying somebody's course or investing in like a paid mastermind. Like, I couldn't do any of that. So I had to build it all from scratch. I think a big thing that I'm really proud of that I did was building the company additionally because I didn't have any money without advertising. Yes. I did absolutely zero advertising for that. Probably the first like 2.5, 3 years of OK Kimonos. And I built it all through word of mouth and all through just me working my face off, getting up at 2 or 3 a.m. and working until everybody else got up. And the reason is that because with a lot of advertising, you don't know the return on investment, right? Like, if I put an ad in a magazine, I don't necessarily know unless I put a special link in there to see if people go to it. But even then, you can't really tell the return on investment. I invested in advertising at a jiu-jitsu tournament. It cost me $1,700, $1,700. And all I have to show for that is a T-shirt from the tournament. I have no idea if that helped my company. I have no idea of the return. So it's my $1,700 T-shirt.
Yeah, well, you know, Brendan, the marketing experts or the brand experts will say, hey, it's all about brand exposure. It's all about getting your name out there. There's a lot of ways of justifying that spend for them. But I am totally on the same page as you. And talking from someone like myself who was heavily involved in the advertising industry, especially the print media, I understand how frustrating it can be. Would you not delve in now to the whole area of pay-per-click advertising where Google have it down to a science? You know, you'll see how much each click is costing you, what the turnover is, the cost per acquisition, as they would call it. Have you ever gone down that route as a way of selling your wares?
Yeah, I think if you're selling online today, right? The whole point of our chat today is I would really learn that. I would learn retargeting, and I would learn Facebook ads. Facebook, a lot of people we talk about social media versus social media. Like, what about Snapchat or Instagram or all these other Twitter, all these other things? Well, Facebook is they're a big company, and they took a lot of money when they went public, and they have to make sure they make money. So they're going to make sure that your ads get seen by people who are clicking on them and provide value to you. Because if you don't get sales from those ads, you'll stop advertising on Facebook.
Yes.
Or if they overcharge you and it's not worth your time. So they'll make it worth your time to advertise there. Believe me. Just because maybe you tried it, maybe you boosted a post or something. The analytics on that stuff, if you really get into the back end or you hire somebody who knows what they're doing with Facebook ads, that can be huge. And then, they come to your website, they click a Facebook ad, they come to your website, maybe they're not really feeling it today. But now because you have a pixel set up, anywhere they go that's in the Google ad network, they see your ad.
And have you used that with success?
I haven't even started to delve into that. I'm so focused on product and other things, other projects that I have going on, that I haven't really started to delve into, all right, I'm going to retarget and all these other things. For me, selling online, my next phase is I've done everything myself, and I do a tremendous amount in taking the online experience to an offline experience. Yes. For instance, when you get a package from me, it comes in a beautiful box. Most people just send the jiu-jitsu uniforms. When you get one from somebody, they come in those kind of gray plastic poly mailers.
Yes, exactly.
And they're super boring. And mine come in a really nice, beautiful, white cardboard box. I have a big sticker on the top that says, wait, before you open this, go to this website. And it's on my blog. Go to this unique link on my blog and watch it on your phone or on the computer while you're opening it. And it starts to play the scene from Karate Kid where he's in the tournament and it says you're the best around. And as they're opening the box, the Karate Kid song is playing and they open it and there's orange confetti paper and it's all wrapped in orange tissue paper. And there's a big note that I handwrite to them on the top of the inside of the box. Yes. And then they get it and there's cards in there and Ninja Turtle stickers and buttons and all this swag that I throw in, all this crap that I love that makes me happy. Yeah. And then they get the gi and it's an amazing uniform and they're so happy. And I just love doing everything I can to make it that kind of experience where it's the best thing they've ever received in the mail. But the problem is that crap takes a lot of time, Patrick. And if I want to scale my business, I have to figure out what's important. So I've spent a lot of time surveying my customers, finding out what's important to them. What do they what do I give a crap about, but what do they give a crap about? And trying to pare down on that and spend more time on things that are going to grow my business versus just doing the same old, same old.
It certainly sounds like when it comes to the area of packaging your parcels and getting them ready, there's a big kid in all of us. I know that when something arrives to my home that I've ordered online, I'm kind of excited, even though I know what it is. Mm-hmm. But there is that little kid in us that wants to receive the parcel and look out for it and leave a little note on the door to say you're in the office round the side of the house if you're not in the house at the time. What have your customers said? Have they said they've enjoyed that experience of opening it up to the whole fanfare of a special video clip on YouTube or online and the music and the confetti? What are they saying? Are they saying, yeah, this is an important part, or do they just want to get the uniform and get using it?
It's kind of a mixed bag. I get a lot of feedback from people, and you have to understand, the type of person who's going to love that crap is also, and I say crap very affectionately, yes. The type of people who love that stuff are also the people who tend to respond to an email from you. They're your diehard fans.
Yes.
So I think my survey responses might be skewed because the people who don't care about that also probably aren't going to take the time to, they love the uniform, but they're not going to take the time to write me an email back or take a survey or something. So it's kind of keeping that in mind as well, that my results may be skewed. But I think people do, overall my customers care, but it's trying to streamline that process as much as possible, figuring out ways to maybe outsource it or whatever.
Do you find that you have a lot of repeat customers, or is it a one-off purchase and then people are happy, they leave a nice review and off they go to the next thing? Or could they be back? If I buy I'm calling it a uniform, it may not be the right term exactly, but would they then go on to buy the tape for their hand, the shoes, the footwear? Are there other accessories then that can you upsell to past customers? How would that work in this industry?
So the gi is the upsell, right? Like you might have a loss leader with t-shirts or something, but the gi is usually your highest price item. It should be. It's the most expensive to make and the hardest to get done right. It's the riskiest just because you're getting it done overseas and it comes in with customs and everything. So that's usually your highest thing. I have seen a lot of repeat customers. The problem is because the barrier to entry is so low, people are testing the waters. They might buy my uniform, but because they're expensive, they're $140 to $180. Mm-hmm. There's some companies that charge like $300, which I think is a joke because their gis cost just as much to make as mine, but they want to be seen as like being super premium, so they charge more. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely.
To play on the psychology of it. That is kind of your biggest thing. So they'll buy my gi, but they'll try 2 other brands, and maybe a year later or 9 months down the road, they'll come back. They need to have something to compare it to. It's rare that I see somebody just buying one of my uniforms every 2 or 3 months, just over and over and over, especially because my uniforms last a long time. Like they're not going to wear out. So you can have it, use it for training every day, which is a lot because in jiu-jitsu, because it's grappling based and you're on the ground, they get dirty, not visibly dirty, but with germs and things. So you have to wash them every single time and dry them every single time you wear them.
Yes.
So that means you should probably own a couple if you're really training seriously, and then you're just washing them constantly. They can wear out quickly. And I feel very strongly that mine are going to last a lot longer than maybe other companies. So that means they don't need to buy one sooner. But I'd rather them buy one of mine, be happy with it, versus kind of making that a part of my business model where things wear out quickly.
Mm-hmm. There is a lot of community involved. There is a lot of it is a niche market. It's for people that are involved in the whole jiu-jitsu martial arts scene. It seems to be quite big in America. It's growing in other parts of the world. So that marketing has been hard graft from your behalf, hard work, as they'd say. You'd be engaging in all of the communities, all the forums, all the Facebook groups, and leaving the paid advertising, well, based on budget. I suppose you just have to be very careful about your spend and not make too many of the sponsorship mistakes, as they say. So are there any tools out there that you would recommend using in a fledgling e-commerce business, someone who's just beginning? Is there anything that helped you on your website to make life that little bit easier?
There's a bunch of things. One of the things, and this is kind of unique to me, but I think people, if they're really creative, they can apply it to their business as well, is to find creative ways to hire people to help you. Mm-hmm. So for instance, most jiu-jitsu companies will sponsor athletes to compete and win, and they like their uniforms being worn and seen on podiums. And I could give a crap about that. I really don't care. What I care about, what my athletes do, is they blog for me and they write. My website is okkimonos.com, but I also have okkimonosblog.com, which is our website where we have helpful articles and tips. It's also where we build our mailing list. I want my store to be only focused on selling. If you come to my store, I don't want there to be links to go read something. I don't want there to be links to sign up for an email list. I don't care. Like in the store, I want people to buy. But if you come to the blog, I want you to have a great time. And maybe we can develop some sort of online relationship through email or whatever. You know, join my email list and I'll give you a discount or whatever else. The blog has been super, super helpful, and having athletes that are willing to blog for me has been great. And I think if you're selling online and you have somebody who's willing to work for you, maybe in exchange for your product, and it's a mutual, you know, it's beneficial for both of you, I think that's something that could really, really be helpful. Or somebody who will manage and engage on social media if that's something that you don't feel like is a priority for you. But honestly, if you're selling online, you really do need to be engaging on social and making media to surround what you're creating. And that's kind of a big thing. I know I'm going off on a tangent, but I very sincerely believe if you're selling online, you need to be a media company, right? Like you need to have video, you need to have images, you need to have whatever resonates with your audience that they're going to want to engage with. And you should be making that media constantly. And people are going to make excuses about like, well, I just like to put my wares on eBay or Amazon and then let it go. Or, I sell shovels. Who's going to want to make media about shovels? Well, for sure, if you make a hilarious video or if you just make some pictures or like what people who are buying your shovels, like what do they do? What kind of people are they? What do they use them for? And then make media around that. Just because I'm jujitsu, like these people also love mixed martial arts. So I make media around the UFC. I make media around all MMA, global MMA. So looking at your customer and seeing the things that are important to them and then making media around that is super valuable, I think is kind of what pushes, one shovel company above another.
Yes, I'm sure you'd agree with me that all is all very important. And for entrepreneurs that are selling online, they are constantly faced with that dilemma of how long is a piece of string? How much time should I be dedicating to the extra media content creation as opposed to turnover of sales? And sometimes it's quite hard to actually, if print media is quite hard to judge its results, then sometimes the other types of media may be hard to judge the results too. And we don't necessarily want to be busy fools because at the end of the day, yes, if you have a passion, it certainly makes it more interesting, but it also must become a viable e-commerce business for it to be worthwhile. So it's a delicate area. Now, it helps if you get that feedback from your customers, if you get someone calling you or emailing you from Brazil or from somewhere else in the world and say, hey, I just came across that video online and I purchased. Have you had any of those experiences that have excited you and have kept you enthusiastic? Because I think that at times, at least from what we're hearing from some of our listeners, it can be a lonely enough business when you're trying to do it all by yourself. Have you had any positive experiences that you could share with our listeners?
Oh, tons. But I think the big thing is, like for instance, I created a really fun email that when people, and I wish I could say it sent, I use Big Cartel to host my store. I used Shopify in the past. It would send this email out automatically. It was super nice, but Big Cartel doesn't do that. But to save money and kind of bootstrap it a bit, I stick with that. It doesn't have all the functionality of a Shopify, but it also doesn't cost me nearly as much.
Yes.
And that means I have to I got to click the little button and I got to paste the email in, and it takes a lot more time, but I think it's worth it for the savings. It takes me 2 seconds. But I send out this super fun, like crazy email about this adventure that their gi went on before it got to them. Like it was floating down the Amazon on a little raft made of bamboo, and all of it, it flew to them in a private jet. Like, it's just ridiculous, but it's so fun and people love it and they respond to it all the time. Like, that was the funniest email I've ever received. Yes. And, you might not always get that type of stuff online, but I prefer, some people, if you got cash to burn, by all means, burn it. Burn it on building up a Facebook page, and then, you got 7,000 likes on your Facebook page, but then you see that on every post you make, you get 15 views. And it's like, why isn't everybody looking? Well, you're not making the crap they want to see. Like, here's the thing is you have to speak into people's lives and you have to provide value, whether it be through solving problems for them in blog posts or on a podcast or making things that make them laugh. Like, this is my 3 rules for social. You should be educating, you should be entertaining, or you should be empowering people. And if you can do all 3 in one thing, if I learn something, I feel empowered, and I laughed a little bit, I'm probably going to feel very strongly about your brand. And yeah, there's no ROI on that. But people use social and people use online too much just to push sales. And I don't think that's the best long term. I think you burn through a lot of cash that way, and we could focus on the retargeting and we could focus on the ads. But the internet is about jabbing and building up that brand equity. And then when you throw that right hook, I'm a big proponent. Gary Vaynerchuk talks about this a lot. Like, when you throw that right hook, they're going to feel like so strongly about you that they're going to buy. And I'm not talking about advertising at a jiu-jitsu tournament. Like, that didn't make anybody's life better. I didn't solve any problems for them by putting up a banner there, right? Like, I'm talking about doing things that actually make people care about you, not just, quote, exposure. I think exposure is garbage because it's way overpriced. Putting up, I don't even know. And I mean, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but like even print media for the most part is grossly overpriced.
Yes.
When I can give such a better ROI if I put up a picture of something on a blog that gets 10,000 views a month.
Yes.
And I can say, hey, I just sent you 700 visitors to your website in the last month. Nobody can say that. You know, I'm sure that there are not 700 people who read the magazine with 100 other ads in it and went to your website because of that. Like, you just can't say it. And I can give a discernible thing. So sending people to your blog where you have something of value for them, maybe you show them how to tape their fingers. That's my most popular post on my website, is how to tape your fingers up for jiu-jitsu so they don't get destroyed.
Yeah, I can understand that being an important part of it. There are so many conversations around the area of social media. I mean, I personally believe that Facebook, as it stands at the moment, given as it is a publicly listed company, the normal posts that we just throw up there are not going to be seen until you pay some advertising. So posts that before used to get thousands of views don't anymore, because they want you to boost that post. They want you to spend money on advertising. They have to make money. There is no such thing as a free lunch. So yes, it helps and we can engage and all the rest, but ultimately it's a money-making machine too. And if you advertise, then your posts will be seen. And the question is how this investment that you make of your well-earned money ends up converting into sales. But listen, that's for a whole different area. Just getting back to you, Brendan, there is a real energy which I'm feeling, which I can sense on this podcast. And I'm just going to throw out a few questions just to see how you feel about that, so that our listeners can get an idea of how you are as a person. One of my favorite quotes is from a guy here in the UK. His name's Felix Dennis, and he would say, it's not the idea in itself, it's the execution of the idea. And that quote really helps me stay focused during the day to really work on the execution of the idea in my business. Do you have any favorite quotes that you like to remind yourself of during the day?
I'm a big fan of the Tony Robbins quote, if you can't, then you must, and if you must, then you can. And I think the second part of that is a little hokey. It's a little silly. But I feel very strongly that when I notice myself trying to do something, either in my business or in my life, and I get that feeling of like, ugh, I can't do this. This is too hard, or like it's frustrating. Well, then all of a sudden I know that I have to do it. If I ever feel like I can't do it, then I must do it. And that quote has never led me astray. I feel very strongly about it.
What's the best advice you've ever received?
As far as business goes, I think the best advice that I'd ever received is just to help people. Chris Brogan told me recently that the job of an entrepreneur is to solve problems. If you focus on solving people's problems, they might not even know what their problems are. They might not be able to articulate it to you. But if you focus on finding those problems and solving them, you'll be wildly successful.
Yeah. That's really important to keep in mind. What would you say your biggest strength is as a business owner? Apart from that enthusiasm, which I'm sensing.
My biggest strength is my ability to literally take the punches of business. Like, I'm not the fastest, I'm not the strongest, I'm not any of these things, but I am very durable and I will keep coming day after day after day. I'm not going to get up at 3 a.m. for a week and then get tired and quit. I'm going to get up at 3 a.m. every day for 5 years, and then 10 years, and then 20 years. And I'm going to build this incredible business because I'm good at just continuing to go forward even when things are hard.
So when we finish this interview, do you then head off to work, to school?
When we finish, I'm going to probably do a little bit more work. And then my wife and kid might get up, but they might still be sleeping. So I'll grab a shower. I have a breakfast meeting with somebody, and that's at like 5:45. We'll meet for breakfast and do some business stuff. And then I go off to work. I'm really big on like keeping things separate. So I still want to give 100% to my job. Here's the thing, like, if you're selling online or you're building something on the side, quit whining about your job. Like, you signed up for that. Like, nobody came to your house and forced that job on you.
Yes.
Like, you applied, you interviewed, do it. Keep your word. You said you were going to do that job and they're paying you for it, so do it. And then audit your time. What I call is making a time budget. And you'll see you have a lot more time to work on selling online or your side business as well. Maybe you didn't think you had time, but so I keep that separate. And when I come home at night, I spend time with my family. I might do a little bit more work at night, but usually not. And then I go to bed just freaking psyched to get up and do it again the next day.
So you get up really early. Remind our listeners of what time it is over there.
So right now it's 4:52 a.m., but I've been up. I've had a really, just to be really transparent with you, Patrick, I think a lot of people can understand how I'm feeling. Like, I had a really hard last few days at work. Friday and yesterday were really, really hard at my job. Some things happened that were really difficult to deal with. Last night when I was about to go to bed, I almost turned my alarm off. Mm-hmm. I was like, I'm just going to sleep in tomorrow. I'm so wiped out from all this stress and whatever. And I know it sounds so silly, but I literally thought to myself, like, I can't do this. And then I was like, oh, if I can't, then I must. Crap. So I not only got up, I got up at 2 today. So I've been up at this point for nearly 3 hours because I needed to prove to myself that, like, this is worth it and I can handle this and I can continue to crush it in business no matter what's happening at work, because I don't want to do this job for the rest of my life.
Yes, I understand that, Brendan, and I admire that. And we all want to wake up a little earlier in the morning to take advantage of our time. But would you not fear that if you kept that up for too long, you also need some downtime? Do you have moments where you take time to relax and chill out, or is it intense all the time for you?
I'm very, very blast and dust, very black and white on this. When I'm working, I'm only working. I'm not screwing around on Facebook. I'm not talking to people on the side. When I'm talking to you right now, that's all that I'm doing. And when it's time for my job, that's all that I do. And when it's time for my family, that's all that I do. All my evenings and my weekends and stuff, I'm very scheduled. That's time for my family. And maybe I do some podcasts at night on a few weekdays or whatever else. But I get a significant amount of sleep, maybe 5 of 7 days of the week. I get 6 or 7 hours of sleep. I just think that it depends on how bad you want it. Like, people say they want it, but then they want to sleep for 9 or 10 hours a night. And I don't think you want it that bad. It's just how I feel about it.
Do you have any weaknesses?
Oh, I'm horribly disorganized. I have piles of papers everywhere. Like, I know what's in the piles, but I'm a disorganized mess. I'm also not good with deadlines. Yeah. I tend to make decisions about what's important and do important things first. And if that means something small falls by the wayside. I'm also horrible at overcommitting. I'm like kind of a yes person. Like, if you're like, hey, do you want to do this? Yes. Yes, I want to write for your jiu-jitsu magazine. Yes, I want to write for your blog. Yes, I want to sell in your store. And all of that is going to require more work for probably not much more money, but I'm just going to say yes to everything. And that served me really well when I was starting out, opened tons of doors, gave me a lot of opportunity. But where I'm at now with my business, I need to focus more on what I don't do.
You have to learn to say no and not feel bad about it. And we all have to do that. And it sounds like you're eating that frog, as they say. There is a book out there where it talks about eat that frog, do the hard things first, and then worry about everything else. It is fascinating. I take my hat off to you regarding your schedule of waking up early. It's certainly something which I go through phases of getting up very early, and then my wife would tell me off and say, stop making so much noise when you do get up. You're awakening everybody. So there's an art to that, in keeping all that in sync and making sure that everyone's at peace in the household. What advice would you give to someone who's starting off?
I think if you're just starting off today selling things online, the best thing for you to do, like, I know that people can sell anything, but I think if you want to do this long term and you want to make a real brand and a real business, something that you're proud of, that'll continue to be a business down the road, not just something that's going to make you a little bit of cash right now, you want to look at two things. Number one, what do people ask you for help with? What is something that other people recognize you as an authority in? What do other people think you already know about? And then number two, imagine you go out to dinner with some friends. If they asked you about anything in the world, what are you most excited to talk about? You know, if you sell something that you're not passionate about, yeah, you can just throw it up on Amazon or eBay. But what if somebody emails you with a question? That's going to start happening. You're going to get a lot of questions. And if you're not freaking pumped to talk about it all the time, if you're not like, I'm going to get up at 3 a.m. pumped like I am, that's going to wear on you because you might be able to handle it for a month or 2 months. But what about 6 months? What about 5 years? Are you going to be able to answer those emails asking about some random thing that you're selling? So I think starting out right, putting your best foot forward and really looking at what you're an authority on, what problems you can solve, and then also what you're passionate about, that'll help you in the long term.
Do you know what the most commonly asked question is in my online business? I sell women's shoes. I have a bricks and mortar shoe store also. The most common question that's asked is, what is the heel height of that shoe? And many times it's already written on the website. We still have to go answer the question. And that's very interesting that, you know, you have to have that passion for it or it can become very tedious. If you had a magic wand, Brendan, in your business, what would you like it to do for you right now?
I think the biggest thing that I would like to have done in my business is to allow me to focus on the parts of my business that I'm passionate about. And while I'm passionate about packaging, while I'm passionate about that customer experience, I would love it if that was a little more systemized for me.
Yeah.
And that my magic wand would handle all of that. It would be like another me that sits on the other side of where I'm sitting right now and packages the uniforms and sends out the emails and prints the labels and all of that stuff. And then I could focus on design, on engaging with people, on writing fun blog posts and whatever else. Things that I think and feel very strongly are important to the longevity of my company, but also allowing all of that day-to-day stuff. Because I think when you're selling online, the day-to-day sometimes takes over. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden 6 months have gone by and you haven't made any new stuff to sell.
Yes.
You haven't done anything cool. You don't have any like unique selling proposition anymore. So I think I would like to focus on that type of stuff.
We wish you the very best of luck from Ireland. It is St. Patrick's Day here, so it's the day of our patron saint, so it's all celebrations around here. We're thrilled that you've been able to take time out of a very, very busy schedule to be able to chat to us. Just remind our listeners again where we should point them to if they want more information on your business.
Sure. I mean, if people want more information on the business, the store is, if they want to look at it, maybe to model it or whatever, the store is at okkimonos.com and the blog is okkimonosblog.com. But Patrick, I think what would be a little bit more helpful for everybody listening is if, you know, I'm very passionate about bootstrapping my business, not taking investment and like finding free things. But the problem is if you look online and you look up like free tools for business, you're going to get a whole bunch of crap. And what I put together a list for everybody who's listening. Okay. If they want to check it out, it's at brendanhufford.com/sell, yes. SELL. Mm-hmm. And it's just 10 really, really helpful free things that I found online that I use and have been genuinely instrumental in growing my business without costing a dime.
Well, thank you for that. I was going to ask how could they contact you personally, but I take it that at your own website, they'll be able to get in touch with you that way.
Absolutely. brendanhufford.com/sell, and they'll be able to download that, and then we can chat.
Yeah, well, that'd be great. Thank you very much for taking the time out, and we wish you all the very best with that, and we'll catch you again.
Of course, Patrick. Thank you so much. Happy St. Patty's Day. And it's really been an honor. So if anybody wants to reach out, I would appreciate that. I'd love to help you sell, stuff online.
Yes. Well, thank you very much for that. And we'll be in touch. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take the time right now to go to sellingonlinetoday.com and gain instant access to tons of free resources to help you in your online selling journey. We'll see you next time on Selling Online Today.